Without any warning, I received news that my mother-in-law had passed away. When I naturally tried to attend the funeral, my husband yelled at me. "Don't you dare come! You got it?" "What are you talking about? She's passed away. What kind of daughter-in-law wouldn't go to the funeral? My mom hated you. Don't even think about showing up. You'll be a nuisance." Though my relationship with mother-in-law was never close, the woman was gone. Not attending the funeral as a daughter-in-law would be beyond disrespectful. Ignoring my husband's words, I headed to the funeral hall, which was a bit far away. When I got there, I saw my husband leading the mourning rites. Wait, what's going on here? Whose funeral is this? What followed was a shocking truth that was hard to believe. My name is Sophia. I'm 30 years old. I've been married for 3 years and live with my husband, William. Things were great back then, but not anymore. I won't sugarcoat it. I'm not satisfied with my married life. The main problem lies with my husband. I became a housewife when we got married. That's because when he proposed, he asked me to quit my job and stay home. Since I was just an office worker with no particular passion for my job, I complied and quit. But that was a mistake. For the first year of marriage, everything was relatively fine. Things took a turn for the worse in our second year. I used to receive $1,000 a month for living expenses from my husband, but suddenly it was cut to $500. Look, William, making ends meet with just $500 is impossible. Why? I'm covering the rent. All you have to worry about is utilities and groceries, right? Even for basic household items, $500 isn't enough, especially when you factor in utilities and food. You're the one who's supposed to make it work, aren't you? You're living on my income. Figure it out. In the end, he wouldn't compromise, so I had no choice but to make do with $500. No matter how hard I tried, it was just not enough. My husband eats more than the average person, making it even harder. After a year of living off my savings, I watched the balance steadily decline since there was no income. Every time I checked the balance, the number kept getting smaller and smaller. Seeing this filled me with a bottomless sense of dread. What will happen to me when this account hits zero? $500 is just not enough, no matter how hard I try. William shows no signs of increasing the household budget. What am I to do? That's when I decided it was time to go back to work. Even if I can only work part-time, I should be able to make between $800 to $900 a month. That extra income would certainly make life easier. That night, when I approached my husband with the idea, he visibly recoiled. Work? You can't be serious. No way. Why not? This would give us more breathing room. If life is tough, it's because you're bad at budgeting. It's your fault. I've done all I can. Life is still hard. That's why I've been considering other options. Playing the victim, huh? You can live because of me. How dare you even say that? His dismissive tone fueled my growing rage. Before I knew it, I was letting him have it, louder than I'd ever imagined. Enough is enough! You're the one who wanted me to be a housewife. Since when does yelling solve anything? I just want you to understand. How can anyone make ends meet with just $500? Shut up! Stop blaming others! Think of something else, you loser! He spewed these words, shoved me aside, and stormed out of the living room. I fell to the floor, tears flowing uncontrollably. Why is this happening? All I wanted was a peaceful married life. I always felt the need to talk to someone about my worries, but my parents live far away and it's not easy to visit them. I couldn't keep silent anymore, so I initiated a discussion. On the other hand, my in-laws live only an hour away by car. However, my husband doesn't seem to get along with them, so we've had no contact since we got married. So, talking to my in-laws is pretty much out of the question. After getting married, I moved closer to my husband's workplace, making it difficult and expensive to meet up with my former coworkers. As for my friends back home, well, I can only imagine what they'd say if I tried to meet up. So here I was, living in fear of my own husband. But then things started to change. Recently, my husband has been spending less time at home. He started working late and going on business trips more often, which meant he was rarely home for dinner. If he's not eating at home, there's no need to stock up on a lot of groceries. This means I don't have to buy groceries in bulk, which helps me get by on the $500 he gives me each month. Also, I've started working from home and now make about $700 a month. I've started enjoying a more independent lifestyle, especially when he's not around. And it's been going on for about a year now. Recently, my husband has been too busy with work to come home much. But when he does, he treats me terribly and shouts insults. Lately, he hasn't even been giving me any money for living expenses. Then one day, something unexpected happened. When my husband came home from work, he seemed really rattled. Without missing a beat, he blurted out, "My mom is dead." "Wait, what? Are you joking?" I turned back to him and he yelled, "Why would I lie about something like this?" "But your mom was still young." "I'll go to the funeral the day after tomorrow, alone. You stay here." Caught off guard by his unexpected words, I couldn't help but blurt out, "What? What do you mean? Why would you go alone to your mother's funeral?" "She's my mom, so I should be the one to go. You don't need to come." "Wait a minute. That's ridiculous. She's my mother-in-law too, you know? That doesn't matter. I'm enough for my mom's funeral." "Are you serious?" I couldn't comprehend his rationale and my frustration was growing. Confused and puzzled, his impatience was obvious. "Just don't come to the funeral. Got it?" "What are you talking about? What kind of daughter-in-law doesn't attend her mother-in-law's funeral?" "Ugh, enough. Mom hated you, okay? Just don't show up at the funeral." "What? My mother-in-law hated me?" "Yes, exactly. So even if you did come to the funeral, my deceased mom wouldn't be happy." I can't believe this. My chest hurt sharply as the brutal truth was abruptly laid before me. Seeing me like this, my husband sighed in annoyance. "Enough already. If Mom hated you, Dad feels the same. Your presence would just make everyone uncomfortable." "Fine, I get it. Just stop." "You better, all right? Don't come to the funeral." Pressured by my husband, all I could do was nod. 2 days later, early in the morning, my husband busily got ready and quickly put on his morning clothes. When he went to the bathroom, I picked up his discarded pajamas. That's when I noticed his phone left open on the table. Looks like he was checking out the venue for today. The driving directions are up on the screen. It's about a 40-minute drive from home. Something felt off. Wait, something's not right. That direction isn't toward William's family home. It would take at least an hour and a half to get there from his parents' house. Wouldn't they usually choose a closer location? Why go somewhere so far away? Caught up in these thoughts, my husband returned from setting his hair. I quickly left the scene, pajamas in hand, making sure he didn't notice I'd seen his phone. He said, "I'm leaving," and walked out the door. Still uneasy, I decided to attend my mother-in-law's funeral in morning clothes. When I arrived, I couldn't believe my eyes. Unfamiliar faces filled the family and staff seats. And there was my husband, giving a speech as the chief mourner. "Thank you all for gathering here today in honor of my wife." What is this? My wife, Riley, was... William was shedding tears, pretending to be a grieving husband. Normally, I'd confront him right away, but I couldn't break the solemn atmosphere. Just then, I overheard the conversation of some women sitting behind me. "Did you hear? The chief mourner is divorced." "Really? He seems so steady." "Yeah, his previous wife was a handful, you know. Apparently, she left him with a huge debt." "A debt? Ugh, that's troublesome." "Finally, she left the divorce papers and left. He met his current wife soon after. Even knowing she was sick and wouldn't live long, they got married because they were in love. So it's a love story. Huh. Debt? Leaving? I had never done any such thing. Anger boiled inside me as I realized the story had been twisted. I had to ask him again to make sure. Upon checking, I found that our divorce had been finalized. The date was about 6 months ago. My husband probably met his now sick wife soon after and married her. The reason he hardly came home was that he was living a newlywed life with her. Connecting the dots, my anger reached its peak. He had me removed from the family register and married another woman behind my back? Enough with the insults already, will you? This is it. I've had enough. Time for a reckoning. With revenge in mind, I hailed a taxi and headed straight for my mother-in-law's place, where I suspected she'd be. I told the driver the way as best as I could remember, and somehow we made it. I rang the doorbell, and with a cheerful, "Hello," my lively mother-in-law appeared. Her eyes widened as soon as she saw me. "Oh, my, Sophia, is that you?" "Long time no see, mother-in-law. You look well." "You look good too, Sophia. What brings you here?" "I came unannounced, but there's something urgent I have to talk to you about." "Something you have to tell me?" "Yes, actually." I told my mother-in-law everything that had happened. How I'd been mistreated by my husband, how I wasn't getting enough for living expenses, and even the fact that he had already divorced me. As I spoke, tears welled up and I began to sob. My mother-in-law gently rubbed my back to comfort me. "Sophia, I'm so sorry you've had to go through all this. My idiot son. Please, forgive me." "It's okay. I should apologize for showing up and talking about this." "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" "William told me you didn't like me." "What? He told me you didn't like me? Wait, what?" That's when it finally hit me. My mother-in-law and I had been deliberately kept apart. My husband probably thought it would be troublesome if she and I got along, especially if something went against his plans. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to me, he'd apparently asked his family for financial help multiple times, and he'd blamed it all on me. "Sophia's sick and needs money. Sophia can't work, so things are tight. Please help, for Sophia's sake," and so on. I was neither sick nor unable to work. It was just what William had told me to do. Now that I had the truth, I had nothing to fear. I told my mother-in-law about my plan for revenge and returned to the funeral. Though it had already ended, a few people were still around. I approached one of them. "Excuse me, do you know where the deceased's family lives? I couldn't make it to the funeral, and I want to bring some flowers later." Pretending to be an acquaintance, I managed to get the address of my husband's mistress's family home. The next day, I took some funeral flowers and headed to their place. When I rang the doorbell, a woman who looked quite worn, probably from the grief of losing her daughter, answered the door. It was likely the mistress's mother. I introduced myself as a friend. I was invited inside. Once led to the room with the family altar, I saw my husband there. "Sophia? What are you doing here?" Upon saying my name, my husband quickly covered his mouth. The father of the mistress asked, "William, what's going on?" That's when I let it all out. "I'm sorry for lying. I am this man's ex-wife." "Ex-wife? Why would you be here?" "Your daughter and I were both deceived by this man. I found out just yesterday at Riley's funeral that I was divorced." "What? What does that mean?" "He told me it was my mother-in-law's funeral and told me not to come. I suspected something was off, so I followed him, only to find out it was the funeral of his new wife." "What's the meaning of this? William, explain yourself." At the sound of Riley's father's furious voice, William's face turned pale as he looked down. The atmosphere, once laden with sorrow, completely shifted, as if sensing his wrongdoings. Riley's father's face turned beet red as his body trembled. Amidst all this, I commenced my final act of revenge. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, and Riley's mother headed for the front door. When she returned, she was accompanied by my mother-in-law. "Mom?" Sweat erupted from William's forehead. He was visibly shaken. My mother-in-law proceeded to give him a piece of her mind. "Causing trouble for others. What do you think you're doing? Pay back the money you borrowed from us right now, and don't you dare blame Sophia." "Wait, Mom, this is not the time to—" "You owe an apology to Sophia, that woman, and even your parents, right here, right now. Do you even understand what you've done? Declaring me dead and removing Sophia from the family registry. That's the height of disrespect. Mom, can we talk about this later? This isn't the place to... That's exactly why it's the right place. It would be unfair to the other woman and your parents if I didn't. I'm here to make sure everyone knows what a loser you are. Riley's father grabbed William by the collar and shouted, "You've got to be kidding." Seemingly terrified, William started to cry on the spot. Turns out, William had lied to Riley's father about needing money for Riley and had borrowed from him. Upon questioning, it was revealed that William had gambled away all the money. In the end, William was kicked out of Riley's house and faced legal actions. Ignoring his tearful face, I turned my back with my mother-in-law and started to walk away. At that moment, a desperate voice called out from behind. "Wait!" I turned around slowly. What? "Sophia, I'm really sorry. Can we start over?" Excuse me? "If you don't help, I'll be sued." "Don't worry. I plan on suing you too." "What?" Yes, I had already made up my mind. After all the unjust treatment and being served with fake divorce papers, I'll sue him through a lawyer. "Please, forgive me." Fuming, I unleashed my feelings on my husband. "Do you think saying sorry will make everything okay? Do you even understand what you've done? Filing for divorce without telling me is a legal issue, you know? Your apologies are worthless because you've been lying and asking for financial support. Utterly worthless." "Sophia, wait, please." Quiet. Do you have any idea how many people you've hurt with your actions? What you've done isn't easily forgivable. Even a lifetime of making amends won't be enough. So from now on, stay out of my life. If you show up again, I won't hesitate to ruin you. My mother-in-law's hand touched my back as I spoke assertively. Her warmth almost brought me to tears. Afterwards, William ended up paying back the $10,000 he borrowed from Riley's father in one lump sum. Additionally, he had to pay me alimony and a fine for forgery. His salary was never that high to begin with. The financial hit seemed to hurt him quite a bit. He had to go into debt to pay the alimony, and now he's even getting collection calls at work. It's only a matter of time before he loses his job. As for me, I went back to my old job right after the divorce. Now I'm living in an apartment near my workplace and enjoying peaceful days. Since then, I've been meeting with my mother-in-law regularly and updating each other on our lives. I feel our relationship has deepened even more after the divorce. My mother-in-law, who stood by me as we took our stand against her own son. I plan to cherish her as a second mother from here on out.
I grew up surrounded by a gentle family and kind friends. It was a childhood in a typical household, not outstanding in academics, sports, or looks, but I always felt blessed with the relationships I had. Perhaps that's why I have a habit of trusting people too easily. Because of this, I've often been called naive or an oddball throughout my life. This story is about an episode with my naive self and a pitiable mother-in-law, Carol, who harassed me. My name is Rosie. I'm a 31-year-old sales associate. I just married Arnold last year, and we're still in the honeymoon phase. We often talk about wanting kids soon, but are enjoying our life as a couple. Arnold's parents live in their own house, about a 20-minute drive from our apartment. Once a month, Carol invites us over for dinner at their place. My friends worry. "Isn't it hard going to your in-laws every month?" asking. But it's not a burden for me. Father-in-law Ethan is a great conversationalist, and Carol is kind. Carol prefers to cook alone, so I always get the guest treatment. It's easier than being at the apartment. I just laugh and chat with Ethan and Arnold while they drink, and the meal is served. Except for one thing. Ugh. Today, Arnold and I were invited over for dinner again by Carol. But as soon as I tasted the soup she made, I let out a groan. Ew. What's wrong, Rosie? Arnold looked at me puzzled. The soup tastes unique. Something I've never had at home. It's delicious, Carol. Really? Thanks. There's more if you want. Ah, yes. I forced a smile for Carol. If I had another bowl, my blood pressure would skyrocket. That's how intense Carol's soup was. Glancing at Arnold and Ethan, I saw them peacefully enjoying their drink. Is this the taste of home here? I resigned myself to the situation and forced down the soup. It seems the in-laws like strong flavors. Carol's cooking is overly salty, like seawater, and her sweets are cloyingly sweet, like eating a lump of sugar. The first time I tried it, I almost burst out laughing, but the rest of the family ate it as usual, leaving me astonished. I couldn't bear to leave it, so I finished it. But it was too stimulating, and I felt sick. I'm worried about my in-laws' health, eating such intense flavors regularly. I've consulted with a nutritionist friend and gathered some materials. But I can't just tell Carol, "Your cooking is too intense. Please learn to moderate." There's no way I can say that. Back at the apartment, I stick to the recipes exactly. I always ask Arnold, "Is it delicious?" Worried it's too bland. And every time, "Anything you make, Rosie, is delicious," he sweetly says. But I couldn't believe those were the heartfelt words of someone raised in a household with such intense flavors. Still, for Arnold's health, I continue to cook with regular recipes. There's another thing that worries me. It's about Carol serving old food. Sometimes she even offers spoiled fruit for dessert. I discreetly remove the inedible parts and eat what I can, but I'm constantly worried that my in-laws might get sick. Once I was given cookies that were expired by 6 months. Fortunately, Arnold noticed and said, "Mom, these are past their expiration date." Carol just laughed it off, saying, "Oh dear, I'm so scatterbrained." I was relieved then, but when the same can of cookies appeared and a gift from her, next time we visited, I was horrified. I've seen this before. When my grandmother developed dementia. What to do? Carol is still in her 50s, too young for such forgetfulness. The overly strong seasoning in the in-laws' cooking, the possibility that Carol might be developing dementia. I want to discuss these with Arnold, but worry about shocking him. Then a small miracle happened in our lives. I became pregnant. Am I really going to be a dad? A boy or a girl, I wonder. Arnold caresses my belly every day. When should we tell our parents? It's better to wait until the pregnancy is stable. I think so. We've only just confirmed the heartbeat, but I'd like their help if something happens. So maybe after the 3-month checkup? Yeah, let's observe a bit longer. Oh, I can't wait to tell everyone. Mom will probably cry when she finds out about her first grandchild, right? Probably. Imagining Carol tearfully congratulating us warms my heart. Carol, caught up in the joy of the long-awaited pregnancy, I forgot about various things. Next weekend at the in-laws' dinner table, I realized the serious issue. Eating Carol's overly seasoned cooking might harm the baby. Books I read during pregnancy warn that high blood pressure and diabetes can affect pregnancy and childbirth. Even if I can handle expired food, it might harm my baby. The thought terrified me, and I could hardly eat. Rosie, you're not eating much. Didn't you like the food? Carol frowns, looking at my plate. No, it's not that. Rosie is tired and doesn't have much appetite. Arnold hurriedly covers for me, thinking it's morning sickness. Really, Rosie? Don't overdo it at work. Sorry, Ethan says kindly, but Carol's expression remains stern. I feel guilty for leaving food and lying. After dinner, Carol offers me a large brown cookie with coffee. Have something sweet at least. It'll surely refresh your tired body. Thank you. What a kind person. I intended to at least eat the cookie, but lately sweets make me nauseous. Arnold's light brown cookie was bite-sized. Making sure Carol in the kitchen can't hear, I whisper to Arnold, Can we swap cookies? Huh? Oh, sure. I peel off the wrapper from Arnold's cookie. The expiration date is tomorrow. I put it in my mouth and wash it down with coffee. This cookie is a bit hard. Arnold, breaking the larger cookie in half, looks puzzled. Just as he's about to eat it. No! Carol, returning from the kitchen, yells out. Startled, my heart leaps. Arnold freezes, and Carol snatches the cookie from his hand. Why does Arnold have this cookie? I gave it to Rosie. It's fine. I'm eating it. It's not fine. It expired. What? Ah! A stunned silence follows Carol's outburst. Confused, I blurt out. That cookie was expired? I didn't notice any date on it. But my words hardly helped the situation. Rather, it only confirmed there was malice in Carol's actions. So, Mom, you were trying to make Rosie eat something expired without telling her? Arnold asked Carol, emotionlessly. When Arnold is quietly angry, it's even more frightening. Carol seemed to understand this and was frantically trying to cover it up. It's not like that. The expiration date passed, but it was a big, tasty thing that I wanted Rosie to eat. Then why did you freak out when I was about to eat it? You knew it was bad and still passed it to Rosie, right? Well, even I, usually oblivious, finally realized. Realizing it, I felt a chill run down my spine. So you mean to say, Carol, that you've been intentionally giving me old things and expired sweets? What? What do you mean, Carol? Ethan glared at her with an intense look. It wasn't on purpose, just some old stuff left over. Thought it'd be a waste not to have Rosie eat it. That's exactly what doing it on purpose means. There's no good reason to feed someone something too old for you to eat. But she's a wife, right? It's natural for a wife to eat old stuff. You're a wife too, but you've never been treated like that. Well, yes, but... Carol, panicking, slammed the table. Watching her, I felt my heart growing cold. The Carol I loved was nowhere to be seen. I was utterly disappointed, thinking it was all an illusion. The betrayal made her look not kind but hideous, frantically making excuses. That made me wonder about something else. Was all that also Carol's malice? Was the overly strong taste of the food also a form of harassment? What? Ethan and Arnold looked surprised. Oh! Carol's face said it all. Arnold grabbed a cup of soup in front of me. No, Arnold! Ignoring Carol's protest, Arnold tasted the soup and spat it out. And then I spat it out. Tastes like drain cleaner. Ethan, trying a bite of the food I hadn't touched, grimaced. Rosie, have you been finishing all this food every time? Yes, I thought this was the taste of this household. Ethan and Arnold ate it too. We had normal seasoning, Arnold explained. I see. So that's how it was. Arnold's shoulders dropped, looking drained. No way, this seasoning is messed up. Plus, you've been eating expired stuff. I thought maybe Carol was developing dementia. Carol's mouth twitched. To think she was not liked by her son's wife and considered a sympathetic old lady with early dementia? Poor woman. Rosie, you're kind. You endured thinking Mom had dementia. Arnold praised me with a gentle voice. In contrast, Mom? Exactly. Can't believe Carol would torment Rosie, who believed in her so much. Ethan and Arnold sighed. I never thought Carol was like that. I consulted with everyone, worried about her taste buds and health, thinking she might have early dementia at her age. Consulted with who? Carol's face went pale. She hadn't imagined her misdeeds were known to others. My parents, friends, colleagues, they were all kind and gave me various materials and pamphlets, see? I pulled out pamphlets from my bag, piling them up. My effort of carrying these around, intending to consult Ethan or Arnold, came to use in an unexpected way. Amazing. You were really worried about her. The men were spreading out the pamphlets, seemingly moved. Of course, Carol was furious. What a terrible wife. I'm not sick, you know. The terrible one is you, Mom. Unlike Rosie, who has a pure heart and was genuinely worried, right? Shut up, shut up. I never liked this wife from the start. It finally opened again. Carol finally snapped, pointing at me with a furious glare. My precious Arnold, taken by such a foolish woman. And she didn't even notice the harassment. She must be out of her mind. I wanted a more beautiful wife for him, with a good job, someone I could proudly show off. You're foolish to say such things about such a good daughter-in-law. Ethan retorted. Ethan, you're being deceived by this woman. What? A heated argument erupted between my in-laws right before me. I really was hated by Carol. Knowing it is one thing, but being verbally abused by someone you believed in still hurts. Feeling down, Arnold muttered beside me. Mom, why didn't you tell me this before we got married? Then I could have. Arnold? Carol looked at him with expectation. Right? Surely you're on my side, her eyes seemed to say. If I had known, I would have cut ties with Mom. Arnold! Ignoring Carol's despair, Arnold bowed to me. Rosie, I'm sorry. I didn't know and made you suffer. Arnold, I'm sorry too. I never realized Carol was just naturally mean. Mean? Carol's eyes twitched. She probably never expected to be called that by me, someone she looked down on. I married Rosie because she's so pure. Don't worry, we won't come here again. Wait, Arnold, you can't do this. The one who can't do this is you, Mom. Our child will never meet you. Child? No way. Carol's eyes shifted to my belly. Clever as always, Carol. But if she had realized my lack of appetite sooner, things might have been different. Too busy with her harassment. Let's go, Rosie. Yeah. Taking the hand Arnold offered, I slowly stood up. Wait, I'm sorry, Arnold. It was just a little whim. Carol, desperately clinging, was coldly dismissed by Arnold. You should be apologizing to someone. Carol glanced at me, her eyes filling with loathing. I had no desire for her apology, so I spoke first. Carol, you betrayed me. I can never trust you again. I won't let my precious child meet someone like that. Goodbye. No, no! Carol collapsed with a cry of agony. We left the in-laws' house, Ethan seeing us off, not looking back. We probably won't ever return. It's ironic, but had Carol cherished the daughter-in-law who adored her son, she could have enjoyed a peaceful grandmother life surrounded by grandchildren. Such a foolish woman. Later, I explained the situation to friends and parents who had given me pamphlets. They were either astounded I finally realized or relieved. It seems everyone but me had recognized the harassment, but they listened and prepared materials so they could testify when I finally noticed the harassment. Embarrassing and pathetic. Thanks to the plethora of materials everyone prepared, it was proven how genuinely concerned I was. It helped Arnold and Ethan fully support me. I truly am blessed with the people around me. A year later, I'm busy every day caring for my son Dylan. Today we're having a home party as a baby shower, and I'm preparing food. Arnold is showing off his wonderful dad skills, playing with Dylan and changing diapers. Then my mobile phone rang with a call from Ethan, who's invited to the baby shower. Assuming he had a question, I answered without hesitation. Hello, Rosie? The voice, trying to sound cheerful, was obviously not Ethan's. I recognized it even after a year. It was Carol. After declaring estrangement, we moved away from the in-laws' house, sharing our new address only with Ethan. I blocked Carol's phone number and even had her delete mine from her mobile. Thanks to Arnold and Ethan acting as barriers, we enjoyed truly peaceful days without Carol barging into the hospital during childbirth. Is she trying to ruin that now? Just knowing Carol is on the other end of the phone makes my skin crawl. Ethan's in the restroom right now. It's Dylan's baby shower today, isn't it? Carol must have guessed, not from Ethan, but from the atmosphere of the celebration preparations. Arnold, recognizing the tension in my voice, gestures to take over the call. But I signal to continue. I'm a mom now, no longer the naive and sweet wife. Rosie, listen. I really feel bad about what I did. It was crazy of me to be so mean. I've been reflecting a lot. So, could I see Dylan soon? I've bought lots of cute clothes and toys for him, please. I wouldn't want toys with needles or bugs in them, so no thanks. What? I wouldn't do something so horrible. But you made me eat such things. That's an exaggeration. It wasn't that bad, right? Salt, sugar, even mold in excess can seriously harm you. I really am sorry. Kind Rosie, you would understand, right? Yes, people often say I'm kind. See? But it's not about being kind. I was just naive and trusted people too much. Once betrayed, I can't trust again. What? So, I'll never trust or forgive you, Carol. I'll never let my precious Dylan meet you. Wait, Rosie. Hey, what are you doing? Ethan. From the other end, I hear Ethan's angry voice and Carol scream. I quietly press the end call button. Mom's sorry, but you've become strong, Rosie. Arnold sighs in relief, resting his hand on my shoulder. Of course, I'm his mom, I say, lifting Dylan from his crib and nuzzling his cheek, his small, soft body, his mouth smelling faintly of milk, his clear eyes reflecting me. Just his presence overflows me with maternal love. I can do anything to protect him. The naive wife is a thing of the past. Something smells good. Maybe the chicken in the oven is almost done. Can't wait. Ah! Dylan, oblivious to everything, happily responds, and we both smile. Being unaware of people's malice was easy and happy. But that was because others protected me. Now it's my turn to protect my family. Determined to become even stronger, I hope for these peaceful days to continue forever.